Okay, so let's go plant tulips. First thing that I did not know my first year growing tulips, especially if growing in Texas, if we planted those tulips in November or that fall season, they're not going to get enough cold temps. They need 10 to 14 weeks of 40 degrees. So what I do is I get my tulips in the crate, I put them in a fridge somewhere for that 10 to 14 weeks. I also build a trench, so it's a lower part, and then there's just dirt on either side. This makes it easy to fill over. I put a layer of peat moss in the bottom of this trench, and then I also put some bulb tone, which just helps the health of the bulb in the soil. So what I go ahead and do is I put these pretty close. So they're probably an inch or two apart, and they can be planted very, very close. And so you will just lay this out. Sometimes what I will do is take that crate of tulips and I will dump it into the trench. That way they're already kind of laying there, and you don't have to pull each one out. So these are super helpful if you are an urban gardener and you don't have a lot of space. Tulips take up no space at all, which is such a blessing. So the next thing I do is you're going to wait that 6 weeks, and they don't mind cold temperatures, so don't worry too much, and you're not going to need to cover it over with not much soil at all because it's not that cold. So I am in zone 9A. So the next thing you are going to be doing is making sure that these are watered. If you're in Texas, you probably experience some dryness. If you're in East Texas, probably not so much. But because I'm in zone 9A, I need to make sure that these get somewhat watered, at least every other day, depending on how much rain we're getting. Right now, I'm planting it into some really damp soil. I'm not going to really worry about it, but I have other bulbs that are in this area, and I'm going to make sure they get water as well. So I did not water them my second year growing, so I did the refrigeration, but then I didn't really water them because they said don't water too much, else the bulb will rot. Well, that is again not a good thing. Because I live in such a dry area, they do need water. So if they don't get water, they'll end up being really short. So that can be a challenge. So make sure your bulbs are watered. Okay, so when it comes to harvesting your tulips, so this is really important, and I'll talk about a little bit more in depth later. So as your tulips come up, you'll see the bulb come out of the ground, and then it will create a bud on top. You are not going to want to let that flower open up. Tulips are really susceptible to getting warm and then fully extending, and then the tulip is over and it doesn't have that much of vase life. So what you're going to want to do is when the tulip is still closed, yet you can see some coloration on the outside of that bloom, you're going to go ahead and pull it. So sometimes if my stems are a little short, I will pull the entire stem and bulb. You can't reuse the bulbs. So I'll pull the entire thing out of the ground and cut the bulb off and get that extra little stem length that's still inside the bulb itself. You can see the color of the tulip is just starting to emerge. I know this one's going to be like pink or red. Let's check another one. Like this one over here is going to be yellow. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull these. This one, and I can tell that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull them and stick them in water. So once you've harvested the tulips, you're going to stick them in a fridge. Whenever a tulip gets warm, it fully opens, which is something, especially if you're not going to be selling it right away, you can keep them in a fridge probably for up to 5 days. Hopefully some of these steps help you in your tulip growing journey. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Leave it in the comments or go ahead and message me directly. You can also find my website, sunnyhillflowerfarm.com, and message me through there.